Good evening. I'm Emily, the Jet Setting Fashionista, and I'm so excited you are joining me this evening. I will be doing an Instagram Live with three winemakers from Petaluma Gap Wine Growers Association. And logistically, they're each going to pop in one moment. So give me a moment as I wait for them to pop in and invite them to join. Oh, good. Here we go. We've got our first one. Cline Cellars. We've got Trombetta here. Winemaker Erica is going to be joining us too. Hello, Ricky. It was so good to see you last week. Oh, hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi, Tom. How's it going?
Thanks so much for having me, Emily. It's really nice. It's good to be here.
Well, I'm a little jealous of your view. You have a stunning backdrop. I'm going to guess the vineyards, and I'm just, sitting in the kitchen in Healdsburg roasting. It's getting hot up here.
It's finally a bit of nice weather. It feels really, really good to be outside. No, I'm at my home up in Glen Ellen, actually. I figured I'd dash down here and enjoy the view behind me. Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, even better. Perfect. Just give me one moment. I want to see if Erica is ready to join, and I see 37 on here. Okay. I see Trombetta. There we go. We are going to go to a live room. There we go. This works seamlessly. Hello, Erica. Good afternoon.
Hi. Yeah, Tom, my view's nowhere near as good as yours. Sorry.
That's okay.
That's sort of what I said. I was like, I've got this boring background, and you have this gorgeous Glen Ellen backyard. So here we are. Okay, I'm just waiting for 37 to join us. And also, I'm trying to paste my little header in the pin. It's very fun operating all these different logistics. So in the meantime, Tom, I was reading up on you. Goodness, we haven't met, but I mean, you're what's that expression? Over the pond? You're from New Zealand?
Yeah, I'm from New Zealand. It's a bit bigger than the pond. The pond's the UK. It's more on the other side. But yeah.
Well, you're from the other side of the pond. Is that what we say with the cute New Zealand accent?
Well, so like the other side of the pond is like the UK from New York, whereas it's more the other side of the lake, I suppose, because when it's Australia and New Zealand, we call it the other side of the ditch.
Oh, good to know. Well, that makes sense. I'm from Chicago, which is near Lake Michigan, so I will say you're from the other side of the lake.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I've been out here in California for about 10 years now. So it's coming up 10-year anniversary in a couple months.
Great. Yeah. And Erica, we'll talk about you for a minute. I mean, my viewers probably know you very well. You and I this will be our third time doing an IG Live together.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, good. 37 is just trying to figure out how to join. Erica, can you tell him what you did to get yourself on the room?
Oh, that's a great question what I did. I think I pressed at the bottom right-hand screen near the little arrow, and I think it said something like...
There's a video with the plus sign.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. So 37, just press that video with the plus sign. I'll get a little notification and invite you to join. So anyway, in the meantime, let's talk about the Petaluma Gap while we're waiting for 37 wines. I mean, I've been there quite a bit. Erica, you and I like to geek out on vineyards, but why don't you guys tell us, what is so special about this region? Why don't you start, Tom? And then what we're going to do is we're going to sort of give each one of you and your brands about 20 minutes to talk, but we'll just do a little overview while we're waiting for 37 to give everybody big picture of what to expect and why are we talking about this awesome region.
I think Erica's better at this. She's the president of the Petaluma Gap Wine Growers Association. So
and Tom's the vice president. So
okay.
Yeah, I mean,
well, how about I kick it off? Let's talk about the name Petaluma Gap. What's up with all these wins? I know the answer to this, but it's more exciting to hear you guys say it. Erica, let's start with you.
It's an actual gap that is created in the mountain range from the Pacific Ocean down to the San Pablo Bay. So the hills are running east to west as opposed to north to south. Mm-hmm. And Petaluma, of course, is smack dab in the middle of that. So it always was known as the Gap, the Petaluma Gap. And we, of course, felt that when we were naming the AVA, it had to be the Petaluma Gap. And, having that wind and having the coastal influence come in from the Pacific Ocean, be drawn through this naturally occurring wind tunnel and go out to the other body of water, the San Pablo Bay. It's body of water to body of water, and the San Pablo Bay just sucks all of that wind and fog through.
Okay. And I mean, I'm very familiar with, Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, which love that, like, cool climate, the cooler the better. But it's also interesting because we're going to talk about Syrah today. And obviously the Petaluma Gap does I mean, I've been drinking a lot of Syrah these days because I'm working on my favorite Syrah post. And I'm excited to try the Cline Syrah. I've had the Keller Estate Syrah. It's stunning. I've had the Annaba, also gorgeous. But Syrah climate is a little different than how Pinot and Chardonnay like it. So what's the deal with why the Syrah is performing so well there as well?
Well, Tom, as the Syrah winemaker, I'm going to throw this over to you.
So Syrah for us anyway. It's super vigorous variety. It grows really, really strongly. We get really strong canopies, and we do get a bit of shatter, but still, because you get big clusters, we get a decent crop off it as well. It just kind of hangs in there. It can ripen for a really, really long time because you've got the loose clusters. It doesn't get to the disease pressure, and so you pick at Syrah at the end of October, and pick it in November yet, but it's pretty close to November when we're picking it, and so it's just kind of.
So you're picking it a lot later.
Yeah, definitely. You know, Chardonnay and Pinot are coming in at the end of September, beginning of October, and another 2-3 weeks later, you're picking the Syrah. So it's a lot later, but you know, you don't need a lot of temperature at that stage. You're just letting the vines kind of hang there, and just basically let them slowly ripen and develop all that flavor. You end up with kind of well, you can make some pretty big styles of Syrah as you'll taste our Syrah, because we do hang it quite a while. But it's all about just flavor development, being able to hang it for a really long time, and get concentration. And yeah. No, it's a lot of fun. Syrah's a really cool variety. It shows a lot more kind of that bacon fat, pepper characters, all those nice kind of secondary characters Syrah's known for. And yeah, just kind of the Petaluma Gap's beautiful because you can hang things for so long. We're not worrying about ripeness. We're worrying about underripeness.
Yes.
Okay. It smells like that Syrah. I have not tasted it, but it smells like it's definitely ripe and delicious, like red and black fruits. I'm gonna guess jammy, just on the nose. So I can't wait to dig in. So I'm just waiting for 37. I don't want us to get too far along without them, but I tried to invite them, and it's saying I'll send them an invite again. I mean, I have to say, I've been having Zoom problems the past 24 hours. So as soon as we think we're all, you know, in the know about technology, it's like, oh, there we go. Hello.
Hey, how are you? Sorry about that. I couldn't find the button wasn't working on my Mac. I was trying to be more efficient and do it on my Mac so I could actually respond to stuff. So now we're back.
All good. I know. I don't even know how to do an Instagram live on the Mac. I always use my phone. I feel like Instagram's just training us that way. Maybe
that's what I've done in the past. And so just lesson learned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good.
Yeah.
We are so glad to have you, Shane. We're just sort of doing a little overview about the Petaluma Gap, what makes it so special, why we are here tonight. And we talked about the Pinot Noir, well, actually Chardonnay conditions briefly. And Tom was just talking about Syrah. So maybe we'll just have you speak to Pinot briefly. And then what we're going to do is let each one of you talk about your brands and sort of work our way through this beautiful lineup of wines that we have tonight.
Sure. Yeah, I could do that. No problem. I'm not sure who we have out here, but I'll give you kind of just a quick overview of not only Petaluma Gap, but Sonoma Coast. Because I kind of frame what we're talking about. Sonoma Coast is a massive appellation that starts all the way Mendocino border, comes down to Marin, and then doglegs towards San Pablo Bay. So it's pretty big. And, you know, folks have been working hard to kind of do something like Petaluma Gap to kind of, you know, define different characteristics vis-a-vis, let's say, Fort Ross, Seaview, or Annapolis up on the coast, up by Mendocino. And so I've been working with Pinot Noir in these areas for quite a long time. And what I like about Petaluma Gap is that it really, truly is the coldest part of Sonoma Coast. Tons of wind, very kind of cool area, and some of the latest Pinot Noir that we bring in, or that I bring in. We're kind of, like I like to say, is we're on the 37. We're lovingly on the toe of Sonoma Coast, down there, right off the San Pablo Bay. So we kind of have a bit of a bit of an inversion from being so close to the bay. So we'll bring in ours. I work with different sources in Petaluma Gap, but we'll bring our Pinot Noir in usually just a little bit after Labor Day. But we also we can grow things all the way to, like, I think Tom was talking about the Syrah. So we do some Rhone varieties, which I think is a great sweet spot also in the Petaluma Gap. We also do Bordeaux varieties.
Well, good. That's a perfect little segue. I don't want to, I mean, God, we could just go down this variety hole for a while, and don't get me started, but we have 3 that we want to focus on tonight. So I'm super excited. So I think the plan was obviously lightest to darkest. We are going to start with the Chardonnay, freshen up our palates with this beautiful Trombetta Family wine Chardonnay. So those of you at home, I would love those of you, obviously, some of you maybe bought all 3, and if you have one of the 3, taste along, listen, learn, and obviously if you don't have the other 2, when you're done listening to us talk about it, you're probably gonna want to have the other 2. So all 3 are available obviously directly from the winery, or I picked mine up at Bottle Barn. So either way, whatever fancy you choose. But let's start with the Chardonnay, Erica, and let's get started. So tell us about this. I'm very familiar with this. I smell beautiful, crisp minerality, citrus, lemon, lime, whetstone. What makes the Petaluma Gap so spectacular for growing Chardonnay?
Well, just kind of to echo what both Tom and Shane were talking about, the growing window and the fact that we have a very long growing window. In so many other AVAs in California, you have a very short growing window because when it gets ripe, when it's warm out, it doesn't cool down the same way at night, and it doesn't have the fog. In the Petaluma Gap, our growing window is so much longer, where we really get to let the flavors develop. So we retain that acidity because of the nice coastal fog that comes in every evening and doesn't burn off until later in the morning, and that wind driven just all throughout, that we get to really decide where the ripeness is, where the flavors are for our picks. And of course, acid being the backbone of this Chardonnay especially, and then giving it a little bit of elevation.
Yeah.
Gap's Crown is such an amazing site. I know that pretty much all of us have, been there and worked with it. And the elevation is just absolutely amazing because we're above the fog line in the Chardonnay block that I pull from. So it cools way down at night and it stays nice and cool in the mornings, but it gets all of the sunshine during the middle of the day and peaks during the heat of the day. So that's where you really get that concentration of that really kind of fun, like tropical, but also citrus characteristic and retaining the minerality to it. Gap's Crown is just one of my favorite vineyards to work with because it's what Trombetta started working with in 2010.
Oh wow.
So it was our first Pinot Noir in 2010 and our first Chardonnay in 2014. So I absolutely love this vineyard because of that. So
I'm just going to interrupt you, Erica, for 1 second. I forgot an announcement. I need to make a little housekeeping. Those of you that have questions, please put them in the question section, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of moving parts. And as host, moderator, juggler, I want to be able to toggle between the questions and not miss anything. So, okay, sorry to interrupt, Erica, but that makes a lot of sense. And then I know, like, stylistically, how would you describe, I just had a bunch of your Chardonnays last week at Regen, and I know you have some bigger, like, Russian River ones. How would you describe, I guess, maybe your intention, or why don't we talk through what we're tasting and smelling so those who are at home could join us, and those who don't have it can be jealous and pick these up and enjoy them next week.
Yeah, so I always like to say that as a winemaker, my philosophy with my approach is that I really want everyone to taste the vineyard. I want them to know the site and understand, like, Gap's Crown is Petaluma Gap. That is what you're tasting in the glass. You know, the Russian River is in Gendall in the glass. So really getting that sense of place and the sense of style that those vineyards and those AVAs produce, and kind of just giving a vineyard a voice through that. I make all of my Chardonnays the same way, but the difference is the coopers I use. So Gap's Crown, because it does have that richness and that density to it, but the acidity, all of it is barrel fermented in French oak, about 25 to 30%. But because of the richness, I use, and Tom's probably going to chuckle when I say this, I use like some Francois Frere in the new oak, which is, you know, a much bigger, rounder kind of new French oak toast. And then I use some other coopers that I think really elevate the mid palate and help kind of elevate the fruit. Because this wine can handle it. And I feel that it can handle that oak tannin just because of the density and because of the freshness of acid. Now, of course, this vineyard, just like every year is different in this vineyard, which is part of what I love, and every growing season is different. 18, we harvested pretty much like the last week of September, the first week of October for the Chardonnay, because it was just hanging out, doing its thing. And the Chardonnay always comes in after my Pinot from this vineyard. It's kind of crazy, but it's almost like you pick the Pinot and then 10 days later, the Chardonnay block is ready. It seems like this weird little clockwork that happens every year.
Nice.
Yeah, I love it. And I'm sitting here looking at a bottle because I'm not drinking right now, of course, with, you know, pain meds, but absolutely love this vineyard. Love Gaps Crown. Probably one of my favorite things to actually do at Gaps Crown, and this sounds so weird, but to just emphasize on how strong the wind is at the Petaluma Gap. And I mean, obviously we all deal with it. I'm sure Shane can, you know, talk about how windy it is at 37, because I know it gets windy out at Paradise Vineyard as well. But in like the middle of the evening when you're out there walking blocks, you pretty much can stand putting your whole body weight into the wind and it will hold you up. That's how powerful this wind can be at times. And it's just kind of something when I'm walking vineyards, I'll just kind of stand there and stand in the wind for a few minutes, because it's just something that is so amazing.
So unique about the region.
And what we are. Exactly.
Yeah.
We're a wind-driven AVA, which no one else can say they are a wind-driven AVA.
Oh, wow. Fun fact. Great differentiator. So speaking of the AVA, you're probably one of the newer AVAs in Sonoma County. You might be the newest. Is that correct? You guys were founded in 2017?
Correct. So we were approved in 2017, but it was 2018 that we were able to actually put it on the label. So that's why you're seeing the 2017 wines and some 16s have Petaluma Gap on the label, whereas before they were just Sonoma Coast.
I see. Yeah, it's funny. I just got a new wine fridge and I was organizing, and of course I have a row for Sonoma Coast, and then I had Petaluma Gap and Russian River, and then I'm like, wait, this is a little redundant because Petaluma Gap is in Sonoma Coast, but you know, you always want to drill down as specific as you can, and so here we are in the Petaluma Gap within the Sonoma Coast.
Exactly. And I mean, it's funny you say that, because we actually were talking to some wine writers a little while ago about why restaurants should have a Petaluma Gap section, not just a Sonoma Coast section, but a Petaluma Gap section for their wines, because our wines are so unique in this AVA. And, you know, that acidity, that texture, that complexity that comes from the wind-driven characteristics is just what makes this area so special and makes the Chardonnay, the Pinot, the Syrah, all of it just so unique to our region.
Yeah, well, and I mean, yeah, it would be really fun. I mean, I don't know if you guys, within your wineries, I guess this is a question for the group, do you guys make the varietal we're having tonight, do you make it for other regions outside of the Petaluma Gap? Like, Shane, do you make a Sonoma Coast, you know, that's like northern, like what you're talking about, Fort Ross or something?
I do, yes.
Yeah.
I've been lucky in my career to kind of explore most of the little pockets of County and even down into the Central Coast and up into Mendocino with Pinot Noir. And what Erica's saying is unequivocally true. Petaluma Gap, because of the wind influence, is quite unique and distinctive. You know, the wines that come from there on the Pinot Noir side tend to have, you know, this kind of tightness, kind of a tension. They have a pretty tightly wound core. We get the profile, but the fruit profile for me tends to be more on the blue-black profile, versus if you're up in Annapolis, that's more red. It's not robust as maybe Russian River, but you'll get like the red apple skin, lighter cherry, like the Bing Rainier cherry, where Petaluma.
Well, I just snuck a sip of your Pinot, and it's beautiful. And I'm definitely getting the red fruit. I mean, a little bit of blue, but it's definitely that like full body, luscious, delicious style of Pinot that I'm like, yes, I want to drink an entire bottle of this. I almost said pound, but just drink it, you know.
Okay, you can pound it. There's nothing wrong with that.
It's just very drinkable and delightful. I've never had your wine yet, Shane. This is my first time.
Well, thank you. Hopefully, I'm easily distracted. So now that I'm on my phone, I can see all these little emoji buttons.
I know. Yeah. So speaking of distractions, our viewers are being awfully quiet today. Guys, can you comment? I want to know what you have open, because I know that with these 3 wineries, we've got a lot of fun people here. We've got followers from all 3 of your wineries, my followers, Petaluma Gap followers. So we didn't really do tasting notes, Erica. We might need to go back really quickly. I mean, Shane, we're going to come back to your Pinot because I really want to talk about that. And Tom, don't worry, we're not going to forget about your Syrah. The past 2 months for me is my Syrah life. So I could talk about Syrah for hours. I don't know if you guys have been looking at my Instagram stories, but like every other day I'm posting a Syrah I'm trying. So it's been really fun sort of getting to know that variety, because I think I tend to play favorites with Pinot and Chardonnay over the years, as Erica knows.
So you're that then.
What?
I said you're in a good region for that then.
Yeah. So really quickly, I don't want to not finish up the Chardonnay, but let's talk about really quickly, Erica, what we're smelling. Those people at home, tell us how yours is tasting. You know, do you guys have the same one open? Are you drinking one from Denali? I can't really say it.
Gendall.
Gendall.
There you go.
You know, there's no wrong answer here, guys. It's just we're here to talk about the region and these 3 people and their brands. So let us know what you're experiencing. So I'm smelling a lot of great citrus, like I said, lemon, lime, maybe even like some pineapple, a little bit of apricot. I want to maybe say banana. I just did a weekend WSET tasting, and like there was all these things. I'm like, I didn't smell banana. So you know, you just throw a lot out there, and there's really no wrong answer.
No, it really does have a lot of that fun citrus. You know, I kind of like, it makes me think of lime blossom, lemon peel, a little bit of grapefruit peel even to it. And then, of course, the tropical aspect. This wine has so much, there's like this pineapple, almost a guava characteristic that comes out in the aromatics, and the mouthfeel just has this beautiful density. And I like kind of equate the mouthfeel to a like vanilla kind of light cream, something that's not super heavy, but just really nice and kind of coats the whole palate, and especially with that acid driving it through the finish.
Vanilla and toast, which are my favorite descriptors on the WSET. So speaking of which, how are you making this? Are you doing MLF? Are you doing a lot of stirring of the lees? How are you achieving this? Obviously, the barrel is lightening the fresh, bright acidity that we're going to find in this region. But like, what else are you doing?
So I do full malolactic on all of my Chardonnays. I tend to find that because of the acidity, especially in this vineyard, I would be scared to drink this without letting it go through malolactic fermentation, because the pH always is so low when it comes in, even when it's ripe, that I don't want you to finish and drink lemon juice. I want you to drink really pretty Chardonnay with bright acidity, but not necessarily puckering acidity. So full malolactic on this Chardonnay. And then I stir the lees pretty much once every 10 to 14 days when they're sitting in the barrel, and it ages in barrel for about 10 months before I rack and then get ready for bottling. So
wow, 1 to 14 days. I mean, that's a lot of going and stirring.
Well, yeah, every 10 to 14 days. So then that way, basically what it is every week and a half to every 2 weeks, I climb up my barrels and put the wand in. I do 10 head taps each side and just do a little stir.
I don't know that expression. What's a head tap?
So basically when you're looking at a barrel, you have 2 heads on each side. And so the tap is, the wand kind of looks like this as it goes in, and then has a little propeller that moves as you stir. So doing a head tap kind of is scraping the bottom and really moving the lees so they stay suspended and actually get into the liquid, as opposed to just staying down there and settling at the bottom of the barrel. And that's where you're getting, you know, lees are dead yeast cells and dead bacteria cells and any solids that fell out during fermentation and from the juice. So that's where you're getting all of that mouthfeel, because the cell walls are all made of nanoproteins, which increase mouthfeel, increase concentration, and just really help kind of create that creaminess to it. And they actually, and the enzymes in those cell walls actually are what gets rid of the butter. So instead of, people think malolactic, they think butter. Oh my gosh, you're adding a butter stick to your wine. But having that lees contact actually gets rid of butter and turns it more into that vanilla cream. So it's pretty cool,
Good. And we have a great comment. I couldn't agree more. Up Dyke 11 says, I'm liking the nose of oak and taste of tropical. Not a big oaky girl. It's so true. You know, it has that beautiful acidity and freshness that you're just, you know, sometimes when you have a big oaky, well, I don't really drink too many big oaky things, but you can't have, you know, more than a few sips and then you feel full.
Yeah, no, and that's as all the winemakers here know, it's like as you're going through and you're making your wine and trial by error with which coopers you like on which vineyard and what you think really works best and what the balance is of the wine. I mean, that's how you really get to pinpoint what's going to do best by the wine.
Yeah. Great. Okay, good. Well, thank you, Erica. So the next time I'm at bottling, or I'm gonna probably swing by and see Bud, I want you to show me this little machine that does the spinning, because I have to be able to write about this winemaking for my WSET test. So the more I can understand whatever you guys are speaking in your language, the better. Okay, well, Shane, I think, Erica, I'm going to say farewell to you.
Yes.
We'll revisit you at the end. If people have questions, please throw them in the question. But as usual, you nailed it with all of your explanations, and thank you for the commentary. But as president, we're going to come back to you for sure and put you on the spot. Right, Tom?
Yeah, definitely.
Shane, you missed it. I was asking them to give an overview, and they were like, no. And I'm like, which one of you is going to do it? Okay, so Shane, let's talk about you. Let's talk about your Pinot Noir, and let's talk about 37 Wines. So for those that don't know the brand, give us a little background. And I just want to toot your horn. I know you have a very stellar winemaking background. You were making wine with one of my buddies, Michael Brown, how I know Erica, at Costa Brown. And, you know, you've been at Linmar Estate, another winery I adore. So you've you know, really had some great experience. So how did you land at 37 Wines? And tell us about the brand and this Pinot Noir we're sipping, or chugging, as I said.
Yeah. Hey, you know, whatever verb you want to throw, I'm down with that. So the quick background is 37. We have about 140 acres planted. Kind of mentioned it's at the toe of the Sonoma Coast in Petaluma Gap. So we are right off of San Pablo Bay. So if you've driven on Highway 37, you've passed our vineyard. We're on the south side of Highway 37, just across from Infineon Raceway. So, you know, from the property on a clear day, you can actually see the Salesforce building. So we're very close, you know, as well to the Marin border. So I started working with the owners, Al and Lisa Brayton, 2013, when I was still working with Linmar. I was their winemaker, and Al and Lisa with me through kind of a winemaking friend, and then they were looking for kind of a different lens on their wines. They've been making wines under a Paradise View label for quite some time, and they were kind of looking to kind of rebrand and do something a little different, and I jumped in. And so I had mentioned earlier when I came into the call, because I did hear, I was frantically trying to get in, and I could hear all the things, and I'm like, where's the join button? My blood pressure was going up.
I know. No matter how prepared we are, there's no way to avoid these little stressful moments. But it's like we were just making small talk, and we weren't going to start without you. It's good you didn't get put on the spot to talk about Petaluma Gaps. I made them do it.
That was my plan all along. I'm usually the master of the Irish exit, but I'm up as I've been here in California.
Well, you could call it the fashionably late arrival for the Jet-Setting Fashionista. It's whenever I'm late, I'm like, I'm just fashionably late, and I feel like people think it's intentional with my name, and I'm like, it works.
Got to build some suspense, otherwise, no fun. So I started working with Al and Lisa in 2013. I kind of came in mid-season, so that was our first vintage. I came in mid-season, July. And as I mentioned, you know, it's 140 acres. It's not all planted, just Chard and Pinot. Most of the grapes are sold to other wineries. But we also have these pockets of a bunch of different varieties. So we do Grenache and Syrah. So our Rhone program is really strong. I think Petaluma Gap does a great job with Rhones because it's warm enough to get them ripe, but cool enough to kind of keep that old world kind of feel to them with the spice elements. Syrah, you get tons of pepper and olive and, you know, meaty characteristics. And Grenache, we're going to get a lot of red fruits, but you're also going to maintain that kind of like underbrush, herb de Provence spiciness as well. So that's really fun.
I want to try your Syrah, by the way, Shane.
Okay. Well, make a date. We'll do one of these from the vineyard, and we'll say there's a Salesforce building.
Okay. I'd love to come to the vineyard. Even better. I was thinking you guys would just send me a bottle, but yeah, let's try it in the vineyard.
Pressure. So we have the Rhones, and then we also have our Bordeaux varieties, which is kind of crazy to be doing in a cool climate area. But what's really fun is that we do a lot of work in the vineyard with the owners. Lisa and I work really closely together to kind of bonsai our clusters and keep our vines going. So we have, like I mentioned earlier when I came in, we start our Pinot Noir Chardonnay harvest right around Labor Day. Our Bordeaux stuff comes in around Halloween.
Wow.
So we really have to
You've
push.
got a nice long harvest. I'm sure your family loves that. You're like gone forever.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, my wife is a saint. She's a single parent. She has been. I mean, she's a pro at this now. We've been doing this since 2003 here, with children since 2008.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I realized during harvest, I mean, you guys are like gone. What do you work, like 14, 16-hour days?
Yeah, it can be quite long and tedious. So thankfully, I've been able to figure out, the ways to kind of to make it work. And for a long time I lived in Marin County, but now I'm here in Sebastopol, right in the heart of Pinot Noir territory. So that makes it. But so we have a long harvest, and what's really great about like the Bordeaux wines that we have is that if you like, European styled Bordeaux variety, I mean, obviously Bordeaux varieties, you're going to get that kind of. We make a Cab Franc that's amazing, right? It's got plenty of fruit, but it's also got that leafy tobacco cigar bottle quality. And our palate weight's not going to be real huge. So we're a nice kind of contrast to Napa, especially the Up Valley Napa stuff.
What about Merlot? Do you make a Merlot?
We have been doing a Merlot. We make a wine that's called a Hermit. So we blend. It's usually a blend of it's a Saint-Emilion blend. So it's a blend of Merlot and Cab Franc. And then we spun off the Cab Franc as its own. It's been a pet project of the.
Sorry, you froze for a moment. I just heard Hermit. What is it a blend of?
It's a Merlot and Cab Franc. So
beautiful.
50-50. That's where our Merlot goes. And then we do a Cab Franc on its own. So 37 Paradise Vineyards is quite a dynamic. We don't make 37 wines yet. I think.
But you have enough vineyards that you could make 37.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
140 acres is a lot to work with.
Well, a lot. And what's great about what Al and Lisa have done is they've planted a lot of random varieties there. So we have Blaufränkisch, which is an Austrian red. We have Albarino, which is obviously a Spanish. We have the Cab Franc. We have Petit Verdot. And then we're doing Pinot and Chardonnay on top of it. So
I have a crazy question for you. Since you're growing Pinot and Chardonnay, do you guys make a sparkling wine?
We don't. Don't give them any ideas.
Oh, I'm going to give them an idea, but sorry, you're like, I'm busy enough as it is. But I mean, all you're missing is the Pinot Meunier, right?
Yeah, we could. And we could even do, there's a lot of options. We'll make a sparkling Shiraz from my days back, working in Australia.
Yeah.
That was always a fun.
You missed it. We're calling New Zealand across the lake. What do we call Australia, Tom? Across the what?
From New Zealand, we call Australians across the ditch.
Oh, right. But we're here. So from the U.S., what do we say?
Oh, yeah, across the lake. Yeah.
Oh, across the lake.
Oh, from Australians.
Perfect. Except we don't have as great of an accent as you. But I studied abroad in London, so my favorite word is cheers.
Cheers. There you go. Grand.
Yeah. So Shane, let's talk about this Pinot. What we're smelling, what we're tasting. Who at home is drinking Pinot with us? If you're not, I would open a Pinot right now because this one's amazing. If you have this, join us. If you don't, open whatever you have. But it's got that. I mean, first of all, the color. Oh my God, I'm such a geek. I'm like medium body. Like it's such a habit once you start the tasting notes. But I smell a lot of like strawberry, red fruits, black plum, blackberry. What are you tasting?
I think they're all good descriptors so far. Oh, I froze. A nice amount of spice. This actually sort of reminds me of Central Coast, like a Santa Lucia or a Santa Maria Pinot. Mostly where you get that spice at the end, because I always say
I have a lot of spice and I like a spicy Pinot, and this achieves that.
Thank you. I think, you know, when I mentioned at the beginning, you know, for me and what we get at our site, I mean, there are red elements of the strawberry and stuff like that. We get a lot of kind of like plums, like red plum skin, kind of like sometimes I get that pluot, that kind of combination apricot, plum, you know, which kind of gives it a little more of a lift. That kind of that San Lucia, Santa Rita Hills that you're mentioning, that kind of cola with a little bit of green tea, kind of sagey fennel kind of qualities. You know, to me, Petaluma Gap is kind of dark and savory. That's usually what and you know, I think this wine, this is our reserve, so we do an essential line also, which gets bottled earlier. I don't use any new oak, but then we kind of flip it and we use we do a reserve, which comes almost exclusively from our F block, which blended to the 667 clone, which I think is a little wider, broader of the Dijon selections as far as palate.
And what kind of oak are you using here? Because it's so smooth. Like, I'm gonna guess some neutral. Like, it's not in your face.
So, you know, that's actually the fun thing is it's probably about 80% new oak.
Wow.
But not all oak. You know, Erica kind of touched on new oak. So, on our reserve line, we up the new oak game a little bit because on our essential line, we don't use any. And, you know, we're trying to use oak as a demarcation line between the two wines, as well as the fruit sources, but the treatment and the aging are different. And so what we do is I use a lot of the boot cooperage, which is a couple of those they have these lighter toast barrels, which create volume and structure, but don't really impart like oaky flavors. And then we'll mix in a few other ones that are more on the medium plus side. We don't use anything heavy, but the wine's structure and intensity is big enough to kind of absorb those barrels, especially over a 15-month aging program. So it works out pretty well. And you know, one thing that frustrates me on Chart, when I get a Chart or a Pinot, is when the oak kind of comes over the top of the wine and creates a shell. And that to me is oak that doesn't integrate well, or you don't have the substance in your material to be able to stand up, or you just haven't done your job well enough as a winemaker to figure out what's going to kind of work. And we're only making 200 cases of this. I mean, we make about 2,000 cases a year of the 13 different wines that we do. So quick math is about average about 150, 170 cases per SKU.
Yeah.
And that down into a sorry.
Well, I just showed everybody the bottle. I would like to point out, so this is a 2017 Shane. So you're saying it was aged for 15 months, but it's been aging in the bottle for what? For another 3 years. So I mean, this is extremely elegant, and I mean, I would drink this now, but I also think it'll be just as interesting in a couple of years to see where it's at.
I'm going to give you my heart emoji for that one. Yeah, I would agree. I think I usually say for the wines that I make, between 5 and 8 years after vintage is probably the ideal time frame to drink our wines. And that goes for all the wines that I make, you know, my own personal wines, and then also the 37 wines and stuff like that. Because I think, you know, they go into the bottle fairly tightly wound, but drinkable, you know, certainly able to
oh, there you are. I don't know how you did that. By the way, how did you do I see it. I've never done those on my Instagram lives.
You know, I have a 7th grader and a 2nd grader. So I have a master's degree in emojis.
Oh, well, now it's snowing. It's snowing green snow.
That's my Twin Cities hat. It keeps it interesting.
Cool. No. Hey, by the way, our viewers are awfully quiet over there. I would like some questions, guys. I mean, you've got 3 very talented, very experienced, very entertaining winemakers. So let's get some cool questions out there. So, well, I mean, I think I know now that I've had the reserve. So basically, it's really hard if you start at the top to go back, right? Like, I'm a reserve girl now.
Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, I think what we strive to do is, you know, by making the 2 different tiers of wine is they're obviously different. And we're trying to over deliver for each of the price points.
Yeah. What is the price point of the reserve?
So the reserve is 42, I believe.
What? Oh my God, that's a steal.
So yeah,
I was waiting for you to say 70 or 80.
Oh no, well, you're probably it's $40 actually.
Wow.
So we really work hard, and that's one of the things. Not only do Al and Lisa, they support all the winemaking and the vineyard stuff, and we do a bunch of different, we do a lot of labor intensive stuff in the vineyards, and they plant all these crazy esoteric varieties. But then, they don't want to price people out, right? So we're really big on, pricing our wines competitively, or I'd say aggressively, so then folks can enjoy that. Like a reserve is not only 40, not cheap, but compared, I think we're
but I think for the quality, I think this is over delivering on a $40 bottle of wine. Like if I had to, if I was tasting this blind, I don't know, 70, 100, it's spectacular. And so guys, viewers, those of you that are not familiar with 37 wines and like Pinot, if I were you, I'd scoop some of this up because he doesn't make a lot of it. So you can either get it at 37 wines or you can get it, well, I got mine at Bottle Barn, but I'm sure a lot of people carry it.
Great supporter of ours.
Yeah, so we lost Erica. I'm sure she accidentally bumped a button. Oh, she's popping back. Well, it's just me and the boys right now. Hey, guys. Let me invite her back one moment, please.
We got to get Tom talking here. Tom is...
He's up next.
He's up next.
Yep, Tom is next. Okay, let's see. Erica's back. Oh, hey, Erica. Oh, I like this. Now it's very symmetrical. Girl, boy, boy, girl.
There we go.
I was playing with the emoji
somebody
thing.
asked
Shane
in here,
started talking about it, so I was like,
sure.
let me take a look, and then it froze.
So before we forget, can you guys all smile? Can you hold your bottles up? Because I want to get a photo of us all. And then, yes. Oh, yeah. Nice job, Tom. Tom gets the extra credit. He was the fastest. Actually, I can't hold one up because I have to squeeze the phone. So, okay. 1, 2, 3, cheese. Okay, we're going to do one more. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Okay. So yes, you are absolutely right, Erica. It's about time to put Tom on the spot. One moment, I just want to wrap up with Shane. Shane, is there anything we didn't talk about? I do want to make sure we talk about, we talked about the wind tunnel and how you're at the foot of the Petaluma Gap, but do you feel like there's anything else we forgot to cover for 37 or you?
I think we hit most of it. Somebody asked, the definition of reserve. It doesn't really have one. It's kind of just a moniker that folks have kind of thrown out there. And for us, like I was just saying, it's just a demarcation between two different price points, and stylistically we make some different choices. I would say quality is, it's not necessarily a qualitative in the sense that we think one wine is better. They're just, we're stylistically, we're making differences. And we're like, as far as employing more new oak, or maybe yields a little lower in certain sections of our vineyard. And I think it resonates. The name reserve resonates, but it doesn't have an official designation.
Okay, one more question for you, Shane. This is a good one. What drives the great number of varietals you grow? Is it for others to blend, or are you sourcing gold that no one else has? Well, I'd probably say the latter, but I'll let you answer.
Yeah, it's definitely the latter. Al and Lisa have been, very supportive and, kind of forward thinking about trying to do varieties. We've planted different things. They've had Arneus in there at some point, and
which one?
Arneus, which is a white Italian white variety.
I don't know it.
So, they just, I think this is it's a business, but also a passion project, right? And they are very excited about seeing how different varieties, different wines will express themselves coming out of dirt. And it's been real fortunate. If you go to our website, you'll just see, like, we do a red blend called Tollet that has, Blaufränkisch, Syrah, Grenache, Cab Franc, Petit Verdot blended into it. It's kind of red. We have the Albarino.
So you've got a lot of fun. It sounds like as a winemaker, you are making varietals you love, some cool stuff, you might not have as much, you haven't been doing as long. I don't know. I think as a winemaker, if you just make 1 or 2 varietals for your entire life, it's got to get a little boring. So it's probably nice to shake it up.
Yes, definitely.
So speaking of shaking it up, we're gonna go over the lake to Mr. Tom with Cline Cellars. Don't go anywhere, Shane and Erica. No more emoji accidentally fall off the Zoom or the Instagram Live, because we're gonna come back to you guys at the end for more questions. But Tom, thank you so much for your patience. It's been a long ride, but we are on to Cline Cellars.
No worries at all.
I'm sorry, Cline Family Cellars. I wanted to show the bottle. Cheers. Boop, boop. So yeah, so let's talk Syrah. Let's talk Syrah and the Petaluma Gap. And I know you guys have a lot of sort of, attention to sustainability in your wine growing practices. So maybe it would be fun to start and touch on that before we get into the actual wine and what we're tasting.
Yeah, I'll kind of start with a little backstory, I suppose. Cline was started in 1982 by Fred Cline. He learned from his grandfather down in Contra Costa. And he was kind of one of the original Rhone Rangers. So it's really fun to taste the Syrah today from the gap to kind of see that come full evolution. From 1982, growing Syrah.
So can you explain what the Rhone Rangers are for non-wine geeks like us who know?
The Rhone Rangers were, back in the 90s, Rhone varietals, which the predominant ones are Syrah, Grenache, Mourvedre. You've got Viognier, Marsanne, Roussanne. There's a bunch of others as well in the Rhone region that are less known, but they're kind of the top ones. They got together, they were California wine producers in the 90s and got together to promote Rhone wine. And they got a lot of acclaim and a lot of awards because they were making fantastic wines and just trying to introduce the public to a new style of wine. We're familiar with Chardonnay, Cabernet Sauvignon, and other things like that, and just trying to introduce these new varieties. So he was one of the original guys. He planted Syrah and Carneros in 1991 and got laughed at by a lot of people. And later on, those wines went on to get 97, 98 points at competitions and things like that. And he planted the Syrah in the Petaluma Gap in the late 90s and also the 2000s. So that was. So
you guys were making wine in the Petaluma Gap in the 90s, and then even though the AVA wasn't founded until 2017. So you guys sound like, early adventures or.
We weren't the first ones. I think Keller Estate was the first one. But also the Petaluma Gap has got a long winemaking history. They've been making wine in the Petaluma Gap before Prohibition started. So Prohibition pulled out all those vines, and it wasn't until the 90s when people started planting grapes there again. Okay. So that's really interesting, but it's fantastic now that we've got our AVA and we're making awesome wines from there. Yeah. But, so the family moved to Oklahoma in the 90s, and Fred had a big family. I see Megan's on the Zoom as well. Hi. And his kids were running through the vineyards and stuff like that. And he wasn't so stoked with the idea of herbicides and pesticides and all that sort of stuff in the vineyards. And so he turned to Bob Kennard, who's a renowned organic farmer, and talked to him, and they came own method of farming, which is awesome. It's called green string farming, and we got rid of all the pesticides and all the herbicides. We only use a light fungicide sulfur spray on our vineyards, and from that started in the early 2000s. And so we got sustainably certified, I think, like 3 years ago or something like that.
Wow.
It wasn't so much it was more a paperwork issue rather than an actual farming issue.
You were already doing it. I know. That's what's so interesting about, biodynamics, organic farming, all the sustainability. It's like, it sounds like everyone's basically doing it ahead of the certification. It's just like, the paperwork and the fees, because these fees are not cheap, right?
Yeah, it's more the paperwork, I think. The fees are annoying for smaller growers, but it's more it's just a lot of paperwork, and it's a lot of upkeep, which is a bit of a pain in the ass. But other than that, it's worth it. It's great to have Sonoma County Sustainable on our labels and to be able to that sort of a thing. And
so speaking of green string, I heard a really cool thing you guys do with bringing in ag students to help farm. Like, do you have to be a student? I want to come learn about this.
We haven't done that for a few years, unfortunately. But what we used to do is teach people how to farm by the green string method. The green string method is an idea that if you do one thing when you're farming, it doesn't just affect that one thing. It's connected to all the other things. So if you're digging out weeds or you're trying to get rid of pests, that also affects other things later on down the stream that you don't understand. And so it was kind of related to string theory and science, how everything's interconnected. Also in nature and in growing and farming, you need to understand those connections to really understand your impacts that you're doing on farming. So basically, it was teaching people not a strict method of how to farm, but a way of thinking about farming. And people used to come from all around the world to learn this method. Unfortunately, with some of the labor laws, some of those things kind of cut that down, unfortunately. So we haven't done it for a few years. But it was fantastic to have people of all ages from all countries around the world come to learn organic farming from just some really great pioneers of organic farming.
Well, hopefully you'll bring it back one of these days because it sounds super cool. And I never even heard about green string method. And I don't know, it sounds a little bit like biodynamic, right? There's some overlap.
Yeah, we call green string method beyond organics. We're not kind of tied to the moon cycles or anything like that, but we understand. Well, I guess that's part of the reason. It's understanding that there's more to it than we understand, and so it's trying to get in behind that and trying to help the system rather than kind of, I guess, complicate it and put your will over it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then another thing I wanted to talk about. So you guys have a couple vineyards that the family owns, correct? Diamond Pile and Catapult Ranch.
Yep, that's in the Petaluma Gap. Those are our two standout vineyards. We've got Catapult Vineyard's about 300 acres, and Diamond Pile's about 200.
And then the Syrah is grown where?
It's a mixture of the two.
Oh, great.
Yeah, this is we grow. That's funny. They're two fantastic ranches. They're basically, one is right where Greenstring Farms is. That's Diamond Pile Ranch. It's really, really beautiful ranch, kind of on the hillside there, just to the direct east of Petaluma. And then Catapult's a little further down as you go down Stagecoach Road, just before you go through to Sonoma. It's to the south, bumps up into Tole Vista Park. And thanks.
Oh, there's a bird joining us. How beautiful.
Yeah.
Biodynamic assistant.
Yeah. Did you plan that, Tom? Nice job.
Unfortunately,
There's going to be a sheep that walks by in a moment, and I do have a sheep question for you on the bottle.
Oh man, I always get the sheep questions being a New Zealander.
No, I was looking at your label, and there's all these cool things. So it says Sonoma County, and then it says vegan, gluten-free, renew, reuse, and then there's a sheep that says woolly weeders. Can you explain that?
So we brought these kind of logos in just to help our sales team. They've been asking for a while. So our wine, this is Cline Cellars, which is gorgeous, is distributed throughout the country, and just really kind of helped consumers understand what's going on. Some of them are pretty vegan. Pretty much all wine's vegan, but people always ask the question. We get questions whether wines are vegan or not. I don't know of any wine that's not vegan.
I mean, unless the grape eats a carnivore, a meat. Like, how does that happen?
Unless you're using fining agents, sorry. All wines are gluten-free. Vegan is if you're using fining agents or not. And we're lucky enough not to have to use fining agents at Cline.
But is there animal product in fining agents?
Yes.
Some of them, not all.
A fining agent is a part of like maturation, or when do you use a fining agent?
So fining agents can be used for a variety of different things. Generally, if you want to tweak your wine a little bit, there's protein finding agents which help with either too much tannin, too much color, or too much like bitterness, things like that. So it really comes down to the winemaker. Most winemakers nowadays making wines that we do try to steer away from finding agents. It's not always, but generally I think pretty much most wines that we as a group are making are vegan. So yeah, but it is a lot of the bigger producers are using a lot of fining agents. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I've never heard this word. Maybe. Okay.
Fining a secret of the wine.
I learned another secret during one of these IG lives from a winemaker who probably wasn't supposed to share this, that they sometimes put like egg whites in the Cabernet Sauvignon. And then I went down this tangent and someone was like,
that's exactly what fining agents are. And whites would disqualify you from being a vegan product. Yeah. So
I see. Okay. So eggs and fining agents. Okay. Good. Good to know.
And then gluten-free, all wines gluten-free. They use a wheat paste to seal barrels, but like it doesn't mean anything at all. We've tested all of our wines for gluten-free, and there's no gluten whatsoever in wine. All wine. But once again, as winemakers, we get these questions a lot of the time. Hey, are your wine vegan or gluten-free? And it was just a really nice thing to be able to put these logos on the back and kind of tell consumers.
They're super cute.
And then the woolly weeders that you were asking about. We reuse all of our water. We've got all our wineries. All our winery and also in our vineyards for our pumps and things like that. So we're super all about kind of recycling and not throwing anything away.
Yeah.
Then the last one, woolly weeders, we use sheep to keep our vineyards looking tidy. We call them the woolly.
Nice. So you do have sheep. I wish you were at the vineyard and one would walk by.
We've got like 1,500 sheep, I think. We don't.
What?
Yeah, we've got a crew we work with that bring the sheep in. They bring them during winter, and a couple times during winter, and then they bring them in in July. And then
is there a dog that sleeps by the sheeps and I've seen that. Oh my God, I love those dogs. They're big, white, and they look sweet. And then when you come close, they are not sweet. They are like protectors.
Yeah, they're protectors. They get a little shaggy because they kind of live out in the vineyard and stuff like that, but they're gorgeous. And actually, my favorite are the herding dogs. The herding dogs are really beautiful. They're really gorgeous. Kind of you get collies and you get a little kind of hunter way sort of style, and just really beautiful dogs out there because the dogs have got to herd them. The sheep are kind of lazy. They need a lot of management. They don't like to do want to do them. They won't do an even job unless you really kind of stay on top of
So
them.
I think I want to do a Petaluma Gap, like a hopping tour. Oh my God, it's perfect for Easter. Because Erica, we've been talking about Gap's Crown. We got to get Ryan involved on this. Ryan said he'd host. I'm just going to plan this and then invite him to his own vineyard, you know, Ryan from 3-6. And we can hop over to Shane and we can try the Merlot, the Cab Franc, and then we'll hop over to you, Tom, and visit with the sheep.
The sheep won't be there at that time. Too late in the season. Because the sheep come through as soon as the shoots start growing. They'll just come and eat the leaves and destroy all of that. So
we'll just start. We'll do this tour without the sheep, and then I'll come back. Because if we wait for the sheep, it might be another year.
Well, Cline's tasting room does have the donkeys, and I'm going to tell you right now, I went in and I was tasting their wine, and I fell in love with the donkeys and tried to maybe steal one.
Wait, they're alive? You have live donkeys at the tasting room?
Yeah, so
they're on the property.
There's a lot of history at the Cline Winery. It was the site of the original. Well, they tried to set up the original mission for Sonoma in there, and unfortunately, they ended up moving it into Sonoma Township. But to commemorate that, we've got a bit of a kind of a plaque, and there's a cross there and things like that. And we also have the Mission Museum, and with the Mission Museum, we've got some donkeys and a Mission Garden as well, just to kind of. I think it's fourth graders from all across the state come to Cline Cellars, not to drink wine, obviously.
And wine bloggers that are grown-ups.
Yeah, and so they come and learn about the missions, learn about how the donkeys were kind of, there's a funny story behind that one for another day. But
so where is the Cline Cellars tasting room for those that don't know?
It's in Canaris. It's on it's on Arnold Drive, 24737 Drive.
Perfect.
Right. Yeah, so Jacuzzi and Cline are opposite each other. They're basically the second winery.
So it's right by, I know where it is. I've driven by Jacuzzi a bunch. That was actually going to be one of my next questions. And then let's not forget to talk about the wine. So why don't we talk about the wine and then we'll go to my next question. So beautiful, very big. I mean, this is big. I want like a juicy burger to pair with this. This would be such a perfect food pairing.
Yeah, this has got plenty of concentration. This gets picked fairly late. I've actually got it's picked 15th to 21st of October. So, kind of third week of October, fairly late. 2019, which was a reasonably warm year as well. It's just beautiful that we are able to hang out that fruit and kind of get it ripe. It's 14% alcohol, got great flavor and great body. Got lots of kind of dark berries, boysenberries coming at dominant, a little blackberry.
Super smooth and silky.
Yeah, and that's what we try to do. So it's closed-top fermenter. We beat it up a little bit to get some good extraction to help soften those tannins as well. Yeah, and then it gets...
When you say you beat it up, are you talking about punch down or punch over?
Pump overs, yeah, all pump overs. And then...
I totally called it punch over because of punch downs, but you're right. It's pump over.
Yeah, and we do some aerative pump overs as well, just trying to kind of flesh out that body, get all that beautiful fruit. Syrah's got a habit of going... reductive as well, so that helps with that as well, trying to get some aeration in there to help the yeast as well. But this has got also those kind of really nice secondary characteristics without going too reductive. It's got that meaty characteristic, like almost salami or steak fresh off the grill with a bunch of pepper on top. It's got that bacon fat characteristic. It's got all those wonderful Syrah characters, but also mouthful. At Cline, we have kind of a philosophy, a saying, a wine for every table. And so we're trying to make wines for all different price points and all different ones. And this is, I think it's about $20, $15 to $20. We make
we've got I mean, all of your wines outperform your price. I was going to say we've got another, but Trombetta, I mean, I love all the wines, and I do think being a newer AVA, you guys, for whatever reason, your prices are just like accessible, and I think the quality for the price, they're way higher quality than you're paying for.
Yeah, we're all really lucky. I mean, to make awesome wines that people can enjoy and aren't priced out of the market. I mean, Petaluma Gap being a young AVA, it's awesome to be able to present these amazing wines with so much distinction and so much character, and make them for people. So yeah, it's a be able to share these with you guys.
So speaking of sharing the wines, this is a great introduction. You guys are all going to be on a wine cruise, which I'm crossing my fingers. I'm going to somehow finagle an invite or a room. We'll see. But so let's talk about the wine cruise really quickly. Petaluma Gap just posted, and we've just been so busy talking about you three, the brands, and the area. We haven't mentioned it yet. But March of 2022, There's going to be a wine cruise. It's in Europe. I know you're popping into Croatia. That destination sound amazing. So who wants to be the wine cruise cheerleader and share some more details? I'm going to guess Erica.
All right. So we're actually really excited. It's going to be pretty much a year from today. We're going to be on the Danube River on a river cruise with AMA Waterways, and we're starting in Germany in Wilhelmshaven, which will then go down the Danube into ending in Budapest. And
love Budapest. By the way, it's half Europe, half Asia. It's the coolest city.
I know,
on the border.
I'm so excited, and you know, we had to reschedule our cruise from 2020 to 2022.
Yeah.
So we're really excited to go. I'm super excited because we're going to have a stopover in Vienna, and Tom and I have already planned on going to an opera at the Opera House in Vienna.
Vienna is so gorgeous. You just have to eat pastries and drink little coffee all the time while you're there. That's like what you do.
Well, and that's the really cool thing about the river cruise is that it's basically a floating hotel. So they have, you know, every night we're going to have a wine tasting, and then every different night we'll have a different winery and winemaker dinner. So you'll be able to have your wines paired with food.
So I just want to chime in one sec, Eric, because you told me this. So you guys are obviously going to be there, but during is it a week or 10 days? People are going to get to taste other wines as well. It's not just the three of yours.
Yeah. So while we're going through the, you know, down the river, we're going to have different wines. Yeah, we'll have different wines from the Petaluma Gap, but because we're going to be going through some amazing wine regions, we're actually going to stop and have days where we get to go tour other wineries throughout Germany and Austria and drink other amazing, you know, like I already have a laundry list, and Shane, you'll laugh. Jeremiah has already given me a laundry list of wines I need to bring back from Austria and Germany for him.
I mean, that's
on the cruise.
You gotta keep Jeremiah happy.
Exactly. But so it's going to be really cool. And the other cool thing about the cruise is that you can go on as many or as little excursions throughout the day as you want. So if they're going to go tour, you know, an old winery or some really cool old castle or do a countryside tour, you can go out and do that. That's fully included on the cruise and on your cost of, you know, your room. Or you can just decide to go and, you know, kind of roam around on your own. As long as you are back on the riverboat before we pull out to go to the next port, that's really all that matters.
I love cruises. I've never been on a wine cruise. I can't believe I haven't. It seems like it's meant to be for 2022. But I've cruised with Celebrity Cruises a few times, and you're right. It's so cool. You hop off, you get to see the city, and like you guys, I think it's like especially cool that you can either do the city or you have all these curated wine experiences. So you're like getting 24/7 of cool wine education and tasting, whether it's Petaluma stuff or European stuff. It's pretty great. And one more thing, you've got to book by the end of March to get the March special. I think it's a $250 savings, right?
Yeah.
And another incentive to book early, hopefully with my promotions, I'll, you know, get a room or something thrown in, is the good rooms get taken. So, you know, it's just like anything else. Like if you book early, you get your pick of the litter. And if you're the last one, who knows if you'll have a room with a window or what.
Well, and it's such a small boat. There's only about 150 people that will be on the boat. So it's a much more intimate experience than being on one of the larger cruise liners, because you'll actually get to run into Tom in the hallway and like talk to him, or me or Shane or Al and Lisa or whoever is all going to be there. You'll actually get to have FaceTime with us and talk to us while we're all hanging out on the lounge at the front of the boat where the bar is, or hanging out down under deck where the restaurant is. So it's really cool in that sense that it really feels like you get to be there with a lot of your friends, taste some really amazing wine, travel through Europe, eat some really good food, and then try some really amazing
And how many days is the cruise? I feel like I'm like selling myself. Like I feel like I'm totally going to book this.
I think it's 7 full days.
Perfect.
Correct, Tom?
Yeah, it's from the 1st of April. 7-night cruise aboard the Ama Sonata. I've got it on the laptop here.
Good.
Yeah, like it's amazing. I've got so many dreams. I've wanted to go to Budapest my whole life, actually. It's been a dream. And to be able to do it like this is going to be fun. I'm leaving my home, taking my wife. It's going to be a good time. Yeah.
No, it's awesome.
And I also mentioned, we sent all the wines for the 2020 cruise. So all the wines have got like a perfect couple years age on them.
Yep.
That's awesome. So people are going to get to taste like older wines than if, you know, it hadn't got postponed 2 years.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, well, I feel like this girl might be on board. We'll have to see. But I mean, I love all the cities they're going to. And what's more magical than getting to enjoy California wines in Europe with you guys?
It should be pretty fun.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. So I just realized I don't know, Tom, if we got to really do the tasting notes for your Syrah. So I want to go back to that really quickly, talk about it, and then we'll do like an open room where everybody can sort of ask questions, or the four of us can just chit chat and everybody can listen and be entertained, because I have a feeling this is a pretty great group of people, and if we just sit here and talk about wine for 5 or 10 minutes, it'll be very entertaining.
Yeah, so tasting notes for this wine, I definitely get that boysenberry. I get kind of dark red berries, blackberries,
Black plum,
pepper. I get some also that kind of meatiness, almost salami-ish characteristic, and bacon fat. Really, really interesting. Juniper berry as well. It's super well structured. It's got big body, but also kind of the tannins are softened and rounded. Kind of fleshed out, and I wouldn't say they're silky. There's still some aggression in them, but they're definitely not kind of blow your mouth apart at all. The acidity is kind of low, balanced enough. We actually try to tweak the acidity to make sure that it helps to soften the aggression of the tannin as well, and kind of helps bring out a silky smooth, really, really long finish.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And it's funny because you would think the tannins would be so much bigger, and maybe they are more pronounced, but they're just like subtle and woven in so well.
Yeah, and that's to do with acidity balance to really, but also on the front end, we're trying to kind of beat them up, as I mentioned before, trying to use a bit of oxygen to polymerize them and make them a little bit softer. Because Petaluma Gap Syrah, as I'm sure Shane knows as well, is really aggressive and fairly tannic in the winery.
Yeah. Now that we've been doing this for an hour, I'm like, I probably should start spitting. And this is my adorable spit cup that a friend gave me.
Do you have a box?
I have a French bulldog.
Oh, is that a French?
I share her. I co-parent her with my fabulous friend. So this is in honor of Ernestine, who used to make a presence during these Instagram lives, but then she'd like sit by the door barking. And I'm like, I can't let you out. I'm a little busy with you guys. So now she gets locked in her crate and I get to devote all my attention to you. Cool. Yeah, no, Tom, I mean, I think $20, this is beyond beautiful. I'd be curious, is there like an estate version of this? Like, obviously this is the entry level Syrah. Is there something, you know, a little bit more limited?
We do a Carnera single vineyard Syrah, and then with two of the Cline daughters to make a program called Gust, and that's a separate label, kind of in a separate side. But we do Petaluma Gap Syrah there, and that's kind of.
So I was going to ask about that next. Thank you for doing that. So tell us about Gust. That's a new brand within your family of wines.
Yeah, and so that's kind of that's a more kind of $40 to $50 price point from Petaluma Gap. Gorgeous wines. We do a little bit of a mixture of winemaking techniques on those ones, and we kind of choose the eyes out of our blocks. Like I said, we have over 600 acres in the Gap, and so Gust is kind of picking the eyes out of that. I mean, we make.
And are you making those wines too?
I'm working with Hillary and Megan to make those. Yeah, yep.
Oh, cool. Megan Cline?
Yeah.
Oh, I love interviewing female winemakers, because I think I've realized I looked at my blog like a year ago and I'm like, oh my God, like it's all male winemakers. And I love you guys, but I also want to spotlight the ladies like Erica, because it feels like I don't know, what is it? 9 to 11% are female winemakers. Erica, are you familiar with the statistic? Am I making that up?
No, I mean, I think it's getting closer to almost a third now. I think we've made it past the double digits, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, well, that's better than my percentage. I thought it was lower. I thought it was in the teens. But my coverage, I did not have enough females represented. So I made a huge effort to add more female founder interviews. So I might have to interview Megan and Tom, because I'm not going to leave the guys out, but I just want to add the females too.
No, Megan and Hillary are amazing. You would love to meet them both.
Oh, is Hillary a Cline too?
Yeah, there's 5 girls. How many girls?
Yeah, there's like I said, when Fred had his kids running through the vineyards, it was kind of a big deal. He had 7 kids. 2
oh my
boys.
Gosh.
So yeah. So definitely it was kind of getting away from that stuff. But Hillary and Megan are huge parts of the winery. They're fantastic. And they're taking the Gust brand. And, I work with them in the winemaking, and they kind of look after all the rest of it. So it's awesome to see that.
Oh, good. Well, I can't wait to meet them in place of the sheep. Who needs the sheep? We've got Hillary and Megan. They'll be way more exciting on our visit. And I know I was reading about the Gust Pinot and Chard, and I have a feeling those are going to be
they're
up my alley.
well. So yeah, the Syrah is kind of it's just more elegant, more ethereal. It's got more detail. It's got more depth as well. I saw Bone Juggler. I was thinking, so at Cline we kind of have we try to promote the philosophy. We want wines to drink well now, but also drink better over time. So I mean, this Syrah's got plenty of structure. It's got plenty of acid and plenty of tannins. 5 to 10 years is a nice drinking window, but I mean, I still get a lot of enjoyment from drinking it now.
Oh, good. Hi, Megan. Nice to meet you. Can't wait to meet you. Okay, I'm trying to get Shane back on, but it says unable to join. But
he said his battery died in the comments.
Oh,
He's
no.
Recharging.
Oh, no, I know. I should write a blog post about 10 ways to repair for an IG Live, because I literally charge my phone to like 98% because
mine's plugged in right now.
Oh, see,
because it was dying.
I know. I don't plug in. I don't quite have that set up with my tripod. But oh no, are we gonna lose Shane? Well, Shane, we miss you, love you. Oh, good, he's recharging. Okay, so we'll take a break. He'll come back in like 5 minutes. I mean, we're actually sort of running over, but this is sort of what happens when you end up talking to really cool people. You just continue the conversation. So, yes. Okay, so Gust, we covered that, Tom. Super excited to learn about that. And all right, I think everything I wanted to ask you I've covered. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with everybody?
No, I think I talked enough. That's
You can never talk enough.
Yeah.
So Tom.
No, I think that covers it all. Well, Cline's great. We've got a tasting room. We're back open as well. We'd love to have people back. So we're open Thursday till Sunday at the moment. Cline and Jacuzzi, and just love to have people back again. I mean, Erica, you got your vaccines. I got my vaccines, being production workers and stuff.
I got 1 of 2.
It's all great news, and so it's kind of nice. It would be awesome to have people back visiting wineries and back in wine country, and then also be great to have people on the cruise as well, because it's going to be a lot of fun, drinking lots of wine. I know myself, I usually take at least a case over for personal use, and then I bring a case over back.
Or you trade. That's a great idea, Tom. So I have a suitcase that holds a case.
Yep.
I forget the brand right now. I wish I'd prepared this, but like, I would like check a case of wine. Yeah. We'll talk wine strategies, because when I go, I'll be like, all right, I'm going to bring the champagne, because obviously we got like the Pinot and the Chardonnay covered with the Petaluma Gap stuff. We got to shake it up so we're not drinking the same thing for 7 days.
Well, and the beautiful thing to not forget is that you can do a case per person.
Yes.
You can do a case per person. So that's why I'm like, Lucas, you're packing your case. I know Michelle's going to pack her case too.
Well,
that way
whoever my lucky +1 is will be told they are bringing a case as well. Thank you for pointing that out, Erica.
Yes.
We had a disastrous week. Been 2.5 weeks in Europe, and we didn't have a case to ship back home because we'd got rid of the case. And so we were freaking out. Like on the last day we were in Europe trying to figure it out. And we went to whatever the German version of like UPS was or whatnot.
Yeah.
Had 12 single shippers. And so we got a roll of tape and all 12 of the single shippers and just taped the hell out of it. It's still alive somewhere. I think the box is now in New Zealand with my sister.
Yeah.
But still alive.
Oh,
pro tip, if you're traveling and you don't have anywhere to put your wine, and I learned this from my parents, you take your clothes and ship them home DHL.
Ooh.
And then you put the wine in your suitcase.
We have a problem with like the thing. We couldn't fit all the wine in our suitcase to like, it would bang together. We needed the extra shipper container, if you know what I mean.
Buy another suitcase.
Yeah. No, sorry, you guys, my phone just fell out of my tripod.
Oh,
I didn't notice. I've never had that happen. Anyway, yeah, no, I mean, these are all shipping hacks. Like when I went to Champagne, I brought like a bottle for every winemaker I was meeting. And I was like, oh, like if I get wine, I ended up buying more wine. So it was like, I had to buy a suitcase, and there's all these hacks you have to think of when you're bringing wine across the borders, and but well, good. These are amazing problems to have. So I don't want to keep you guys, because I feel like it's about dinner, and we've had an amazing hour and 15 minutes together. Shane, we miss you. If your battery is charged and you want to come back on to say hello, feel free. I'm really glad oh, he's back. I'm going to let him in. All right, we'll have a team goodbye. Yay. Oh, it says you have to upgrade your app in order to join 37 Wines. Maybe when your battery died, you got downgraded in apps. This is so strange. Well, takeaways. For those of you that maybe missed the first portion of this, don't worry. It will be on my YouTube, Jetsetting Fashionista. It'll also be on my Instagram TV. I will share it with the brands. Hopefully they'll post it on their IGTV as well. And oh, thank you, Keller. Hopefully that's Anna. Hello. Love your Syrah. Actually, I love all your wines. So yeah, this was a lot of fun. Hopefully, if we can do this again, I would really love to continue the conversation about Petaluma Gap. Key takeaways: wind, wind, wind. Variation of grape varieties. We talked about Pinot, Chardonnay, Syrah. I know Shane was talking about, Cab Franc, Merlot. There really is a lot going on there. We've got Bordeaux, Burgundy varietals grown, and it's all in the backyard of Sonoma County, or the Sonoma Coast, as we also talked about. I think it's super interesting. You're your own AVA within the Sonoma Coast, AVA as well.
Yeah.
So, oh, okay, hold on. Shane's back. 1 second. Let's give him one more try. Oh, shoot, Shane, you can't go on your wife's phone. For some reason, it won't let us add you back. Maybe it's not an iPhone. Well, thank you, Petaluma Gap. Thank you so much for having me. I hope to get to know you guys even better. It's definitely, you guys produce beautiful wines, and they're quite a great price point. So if you want to stock up on high quality wines and not break the bank, I suggest you buy some of these. And yeah, I guess we'll call it a wrap, guys.
Yeah.
Thank
you.
Thank you. Oh, hold on. One more try. He's back. This is like, okay. Oh, good. We're going to get to say goodbye to Shane. Okay, Shane. He's coming. Hopefully I don't drop this again. Okay. Tom, I'm just waiting for a sheep to walk by in your backyard.
Almost. We've got cows here. We've got cows, sheep. We've got a pig the other day. We've got rabbits. We've got everything.
Wow, Glen Ellen living is great. I'm assuming you go to Glen Ellen Star all the time.
Yeah. Glen Ellen Star's great. There's some really nice places to hang out around here. Glen Ellen's a nice spot.
And I love Fig Cafe. Those are my two favorites in town.
Yes, definitely. And,
okay, Shane, I'm trying to invite you. It's not. I'm adding you back, and you're not popping back.
And the free corkage deal at the Fig Cafe is pretty awesome too.
Yes,
What was that
I know.
pub
That's
we
for
went
locals,
to?
right?
Pardon?
Locals can bring a bottle of wine, and then it's free corkage at Fig Cafe.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went to a really awesome pub not that far away too. What was that place called? Palooza. That's right. That was awesome.
A pub? You mean the one at the Jack London pub? Because I do love that one.
Get in trouble at Jack London. Like, I mean, you go out there to play.
Oh, he's back!
There he is.
Oh.
7th time is a charm. I feel like I kept adding you and it wouldn't let you back.
Gonna have to rename this fashion.
Oh, you're fashionista. You were just making a late arrival. Shane, we get it. You're fashionably late.
Ironically, I had my phone plugged in, but I guess it wasn't charging, or I guess Instagram sucks up so much time at our energy. But anyway, I'm back. Thank you for hosting me, Tom and Erica, for all your work you guys have been doing with the Petaluma Gap. You guys are awesome, and it's nice to be included. And I know Al and Lisa love being part of the group, and it's been really great. So thank you.
Thank you guys for sharing your evening and your wines. I love getting to know everybody a little bit better. And until we meet again in the Petaluma Gap, which I'll coordinate with Erica and Tom. I have all of your emails. Hopefully we'll do it before harvest, because then we won't see you guys for 3 to 4 months. And thank you again. Have a wonderful evening. And if anybody missed the first part of this, it will be on YouTube, JetsettingFashionista, or my Instagram TV channel.
Awesome.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you. Farewell. Good evening.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Cheers.